Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Polyhedron Cluttercast episode 68. I'm Steve Tudor.
I'm John Cage.
I'm Andy Lewis.
And I'm Rory Summers.
68, that's very close to an awesome number.
What, 70?
Oh, God.
Oh, dear. Right, is that how we're going to start the show this week, is it?
We'll start low and get lower.
Can we get lower? Is it possible?
Who are you talking to?
You're talking to Mr. Andy Lewis. Challenge accepted.
Well, yeah.
See that gleeful look in his eyes.
John has thrown down the gauntlet. I shall gladly pick it up.
It's going to be more like a relay race, knowing us.
Yes, we'll go full Bill and Ted.
I don't know, Bill and Ted was quite wholesome and family friendly, you two.
Well,
not so much.
It wasn't. Because, there was all these 69 dudes, and then there was, it's your mom, dude.
Speaking of Bill and Ted, did you guys know that they've just finished filming Bill and Ted 3?
Yes.
I was aware it was in the works, and I am convinced it's going to be shit.
Because you have two precedents for that.
The first films were fun.
They were fun, but they were still shit.
No! You lie, Summers, you lie. The first one was amazing.
I think Ty will tell on that one.
I hate to agree with Andy, but Andy is right. They were good, they were fun. But I'm also inclined to agree that this one is probably going to be awful. But I'd love to be proved wrong.
As would I, but I can't imagine they're going to be... Because, they'll have lost the magic. They've both aged 45 years, or something close to it. So I can't see it working.
If it's anything like the reboot of Red Dwarf, I'm not optimistic.
No.
Agreed, yes.
But it's going to be interesting because obviously that's going to be out, I suppose, end of next year, beginning of the year after. What is that scheduled to release? Do you know?
I don't know.
Because you've got Ghostbusters 3 coming next year. So it's kind of like 2020 is the year of the kind of the remake /
And also Top Gun, apparently.
Top Gun,
Sequel to
yeah.
Top
Yeah.
Gun. So 2020 is going to be the year of the shit sequel.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Right. That's enough of that waffle.
Kicking off with Star Wars Episode 9 at the end of this year, which also looks like a as well.
I'm going to have to disagree with you on that. I think it looks quite good.
The last two have been bollocks as well.
I couldn't even make it through the last two. I just got so bored.
Nothing happened. No one cares. They're just, Disney.
But they did a good job with Rogue One.
Yeah, I suppose.
I enjoyed Rogue One.
No, Rogue One's really, really good.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say something controversial. I actually think Solo is a very good film.
That's not controversial. That's correct.
Hang on. Well, now, I've not seen Solo, so I'm not going to comment on that. However, I am going to comment on your taste in stuff, Mr. Cage, because you have been watching Another Life, haven't you?
Yes.
Has he been enjoying it?
Yeah, apparently he says it was great. I have it written down on the internet, so therefore it must be true. I have started watching it. I got 20 minutes in and fell asleep.
What is this show?
You just need to suspend disbelief a little bit. Yes, okay, there are a bunch of astronauts that went into space to go and investigate an alien artifact, and bad things happen, and they handle it, well, quite poorly. But that's what makes it entertaining, because you spend half the episode going, no, you're a trained astronaut. Why on earth would you go over there?
Right.
I didn't even get past the dark matter cloud for me. I just went, what? Having done, a lot of astronomy in my past, there's, suspension of disbelief, and you must have already known that was there before you set out.
Thing about dark matter
is it's dark.
The thing about dark matter is it's dark.
Yeah.
The thing about space
it's dark.
It's also dark.
Yes. But knowing where the star is behind that cloud, the effect would have affected the light from that star anyway, not just
anyway.
So it just doesn't work. It's shite.
As I said, you need to suspend a little bit of disbelief, and it's quite an entertaining series.
Right, I think I might side with Andy on this one.
Thank you. Andy in 3 times right shocker. Boom.
You haven't even seen it. You need to see it, and then you can side with him.
I've seen
That's
20
fair.
minutes of it. I've seen enough to know that
No,
it's
Rory.
shit. Oh, no, you don't, Rory. You're not missing out.
Okay.
Right.
See, the consensus of public opinion does seem to agree with Andy from what I've seen. The reviews of it have been said it's been shocking. And I also don't entirely trust your opinion either, John, after that bloody awful book I read.
That book was good. There's something wrong with you people.
No, there isn't. Sometimes the majority can be right.
Okay.
Not in my experience. They're normally wrong. I normally disagree with them.
If you're tuning into this podcast for the first time, this is actually supposed to be a tabletop gaming podcast.
It is, honest.
I think you guys have actually broken the anti-waffle stick.
We broke that a long time ago. We threw it out the window. We don't need that.
You took 2 weeks off, John. It got unceremoniously burnt in the car park.
Yes.
I wondered what that was.
There was dancing and everything.
Yes, I am back. I had a holiday, another holiday.
Another one.
Another one.
Well,
How many? You've had 3 weeks holiday since August.
Yeah, you have actually, Joe.
No, I
You've been
haven't.
away most of August.
no, I was away 2 weeks.
Right, well, it's...
Hey, we're away 3.
No, it's 2 weeks, but they included 2 weekends on it each end. So
Okay.
yeah. That must be a sign that you've missed me, Steve. Contrary to what the viewers or rather listeners would have divulged from the previous episode, which I'm sure they listened to. Have you got out of the bed on the right side today, Steve, or am I in for another verbal kicking? That's what I want to know.
I don't know yet. I haven't decided. I got a bit. Some people mentioned on Twitter that I was giving you a particular kicking in the last episode, and I kind of went, nah, whatever.
Salty Steve, they call him.
That's something else.
Ew.
So yes, I went on holiday. I saw some glaciers. I saw some lakes. I DM'd some D&D. I played some board games and I drank some booze.
You DM'd Mr. Cage.
Yes, although not full DM'd. I DM'd for some kids. Although some might argue that that's more challenging.
Oh, was this your first time in the DM chair?
It was, yes.
How did you find it?
A little bit nerve-wracking to begin with, and then quite a lot of fun.
All right. Did your players kind of stick to what you thought was going to happen, or did they go completely off on a tangent?
Well, at every opportunity, one of the kids basically wanted to kill every NPC and the other player characters.
Right.
That's pretty standard Dungeons and Dragons
normal
action,
D&D
yeah?
then.
Yeah. The more sensible of the children, there were 3 kids and 2 adults helping them, basically, to play 4 characters. The youngest kids kind of got bored after the first 10 minutes. Well, they quite liked rolling the dice, but as soon as there was any kind of role-playing or discussion or anything like that, he was like, can we roll some more dice again? Like, I'm getting to that. Just to finish this script. No, fine, you're off. Okay, goodbye.
How old or how young was your youngest player?
He was 4, I think it is.
Okay.
Wow, okay.
Oh, blimey.
That's fresh.
Yeah. And 2, I think they're 6 and 7. So they were the main
Young players then.
protagonists. So this was the Ogre and His Cake I was running, which is a D&D adventure designed specifically with kids in mind. I think it says for ages 5 plus. So you just have to kind of adjust things a little bit based on how old your players actually are. And the 2 oldest ones, once they'd stopped trying to kill everything, I think they actually quite enjoyed it.
So I'm quite looking forward to eventually DMing for the kids when they're old enough, but that's a few years off yet. That's why I wanted to know how old they were. But yeah, 4 would probably be a bit young.
Yeah, I can vouch for that.
So was it like a stripped down version of the 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons rules then, was it? Or was it like its own thing?
It's so each person's got a player sheet that's kind of similar to the regular ones that we would play with, but they're all simplified down. So you've still got all the different abilities, and the example ones have got some standard like a fighter, a rogue, a wizard, and a cleric. So you've got some basic archetypes that you can play with. Character sheets are dumbed down generally, so rather than having like it's still AC and inspiration and other bits and pieces, but for each of the attack things, it was like, this is the thing that you do to add it as a bonus, and this is the thing that you do to add it when you need to make a save on it. It says in the rules that you're basically following the standard kind of D&D type stuff, but I found I just fudged it, whatever sounded like it was going to be easiest to explain to a couple of kids.
Standard DM then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fudge it. How does it sound good? Yes.
Do you still have all the skills when you do skill checks? Because there's what, 20 skills in total? Something around that, isn't there?
I was quite surprised, but basically I'd just say, you want to try and do something or other. Okay, we'll make an investigation check or whatever it was. And then I'd remind them, yeah, you rolled the big one. No, not the D6. Yes, the big one. Yes, the big one. Yes, the one with 20. That one. And then you add the number over there. Which number? Yes, that number. That's the one. Yeah. So what's that in total? No, add one. No, not subtract. Add one. Yeah. Okay, we got it. There we go. That's right. And you have, let me just adjust my roll, succeeded. Well done, kids.
Again, this just sounds like standard Dungeons and Dragons. I don't see how this is different to like the younger audience.
Yeah. Oh, indeed.
It sounds just like playing a game with Ben, actually.
Well, yeah.
I suspect the difference is that it's much easier to railroad them down the line of the story that you want them to go down, to be perfectly honest.
True.
But yeah, they got to the end, they survived, they enjoyed it, and they then spent the rest of the holiday saying, where does the adventure go next? What can we play next? When can we play?
Good
sign.
Tomb of Annihilation. Possibly
Tomb
a
of
bit of a
Horrors,
step up.
in you go.
Yes, exactly. A Serac would like a word.
So where did you get this from, John? What was it called again? An Ogre and His Cake?
Yep, An Ogre and His Cake. I got it from RPG Guild, was it?
DM's Guild?
DM's Guild, that's the one. Yes. And it's not a lot of money. It's well cheap. You get the PDFs, you get the characters, you get a map of the... Well, I won't ruin it, but a map of some of the area that you play in.
Yeah, you fall into the DM's Guild trap there, which is, it's not very expensive, only a couple of quid. You got same with RPG now, which is like the sister site. I realised how much I'd actually spent on DM's Guild, because most things are like, $2. Oh, I'll buy this adventure, that's $1. That's $2. These maps are $5. Oh, crap, how much have I spent on this stuff?
Yes, I've done something similar on Roll20. Ooh, pretty icons and tokens for big bad dragon guys. We'll have that. That's only $5. I will add this set as well, and that's $7. Oh shit, I've just spent quite a lot of money on basically pretty looking things that I may use once.
Yeah, virtual pretty looking things as well.
Well, it could be worse. It could be loot boxes.
True.
Yeah.
That is true.
Do you think that argument will hold up with our significant others?
Just don't tell them. Wait, we're online.
No.
Oh dear, never mind. Fine.
It could be worse. It could be loot boxes. I might get that on a t-shirt.
Are you suggesting they might not be worth the money?
Yes.
Okay.
Having played Star Wars Battlefront 2, yes, I would agree.
Yeah, I've heard Star Wars Battlefront was a bit shit.
The gameplay was fun, but having to basically randomise the upgrade of your gear is kicking the balls, basically.
Bit unhelpful, isn't it? I would like to upgrade my shoes. No, you've got a new coat. But I need shoes. No, you're wearing this coat.
Oh no, what it used to do was like, right, I need a new gun. I want a new gun. I want a new gun. I've got an emotion gesture for a character I haven't unlocked yet.
Wait, what?
Great.
I see. Right, it's one of those, is it? Is it a multiplayer online game?
Yeah.
I don't play those things anyway, so I don't care.
Let's move on, shall we? Andy, what have you been up to since we last recorded?
What have I been up to? Quite a lot, actually. Although the only thing of serious significance was the recent bank holiday weekend, where I spent 2 days at 2 different festivals. Boom. There was WV1 Fest in Wolverhampton for the day on Saturday, which was a rock and metal festival, not with actual bands, but with tribute bands. So for the princely sum of £3.90 for the entire weekend, you can go and see some pretty good tribute acts, actually, such as Ozbest
nice.
for Black Sabbath, Higher on Maiden,
Right.
Right.
Wrong Jovi.
That's a good one. I like that.
The headline act was Whole Lot of DC for AC/DC. There was Mentalica. Mentalica, so
right.
as in mental, Mentalica. There was also a local band there called, not Violence, what the hell were they called? But they were actually a local band. They did a bit of a tribute to Pantera, so it was really sort of shouty rock that Steve might like. But
yeah,
bit of shouty metal, it's quite sort of chest beaty stuff. They were okay. It wasn't really my sort of thing, but the whole thing was brilliant. I loved Iron Maiden was superb. The AC/DC band was brilliant. Honestly, their version of Angus Young was absolutely spot on. They even got the double foot tap that he does, and he had the sort of the velvet school uniform on. He bared his arse. It was brilliant. So it was lots of fun. Especially for £4, you can't complain. For £20 it would have been good value, but for 4 it was just, outstanding. So I completely lost my voice screaming and shouting. It was great fun.
You really confused me when you sent a message about that festival, because I thought you'd mistyped VW exclamation mark fest. And then I was like,
not looking at small cars, no.
Yeah, I can't see any souped up polos or camper vans. Like, oh, I see.
Wolverhampton One Fest.
Do you know what?
Yes.
Do you know what, John? I made exactly the same mistake. I kept looking. I kept thinking there was be a row of camper vans in the back of these pictures, and thinking, oh right, okay, it's a bit interesting. All these cover bands are on at this camper van festival. But there you go.
No, I don't. I do not associate myself with hippies. So that was.
I hate to worry you, mate.
Yeah, that's why you're on camera and not here.
It has been a while since I spun some poi, but
that is true.
They're creeping into your life.
It was really, really good fun. It was a really good sort of festival atmosphere. It was only the daytime, so it started at midday and then finished about 10 o'clock at night, both days. It was on the Sunday as well, but I wasn't there on the Sunday. On the Sunday, I was at the Bewdley Beer Festival. So, boom. That was also good. In a nice air-conditioned room. So, we had our friend...
you bastard.
Oh, it was wonderful. Honestly, we were being cooked outside.
God, it was hot as
Sue
hell.
came down and we just sort of wandered in and went, and stayed inside all day. It was amazing. Drinking, basically, we had completely free access to the bar, and we had to pay for it, but there was no queue or anything. It was amazing. So, yeah, rock festival and beer on the Saturday, beer on the Sunday, and then a spot of gentle gardening on the Monday. It's very civilised. So, yeah, I did bank holiday well.
Good work.
Yes, I thought so. I was tired on the Tuesday, though, back at work.
Nice. Steve and Rory, anything else exciting happened to you guys since the last podcast? Obviously been very busy reviewing and putting news articles together.
I've been running.
We haven't. Running? Wait, whoa, running?
Yeah, been doing lots of running.
That's good. Well done.
Yep.
Yep, same here. Running and not eating is generally what I've been doing for the last 3 weeks.
I've been taking one for the team and doing the opposite of that.
All
exercise, and I've drank and eaten my own body weight in French cheese and French lager.
Good man. Ooh. I did my bit today and I had 2 lunches.
Good grief. Did you forget it was lunch club at work?
Maybe. And didn't want to waste the lunch I'd brought in, so I ate that first, which was essentially my breakfast at 11:30, and then lunch at 12:30. So I scoffed that down as well. And then had some chocolate.
Animal.
Speaking of animals, I think it's time we open the cage to the news ferrets and actually talked about some tabletop games here.
That was a fantastic segue, Steve. Good work.
I thought so. So, to the news desk.
That was about as smooth and as flowing as a river of bricks.
It's as smooth as we get. Lap it up.
Right, lead the charge then, Mr. Cage.
Right, yes, we have wrangled the ferrets back in some semblance of order. They are looking leaner and meaner and generally less overfed. And I give them a good beating, so they've come back with some nice stuff this week. Let us start with the board game book number 2. So we saw, or indeed we got a copy of the first board game book, which is, as you might expect, a lovely hardback book about board games. A huge selection, categorized into different categories, lots of nice pictures, beautiful descriptions. I had a skim through it when I was there on the stand, and I was quite impressed. I've had a bit more of a skim through it. I handed it over to you, Andy, today to have a little bit of a look. What do you think of it?
I quite liked it. I've skimmed through it. I haven't gone through it in a huge amount of detail. I've spent some time basically just going, got, played, got, want, not got, played, got a scary number of them, actually. But I agree, it's very well presented, very, very pretty. It's more of a discussive format, really, more than anything else. There's a few interviews with some of the designers, some very nice pictures, and depending on the game, and there's and depending on the form, a lot of them are, how did you come up with the design, where did you get the inspiration from, that sort of thing. So it's all sort of, it's very interesting stuff.
Is it like a coffee table book about board games?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the type of thing it is. Okay.
So I think this book is perfect. If you've got a coffee table, you can just stick it on there. When you've got your mates around who don't play board games and they see this book and you idly left them in the lounge for a few minutes, they pick it up, they start skimming through and then go, oh, these sound quite interesting. And you go, aha, well, come on through to the games cavern.
I wish I had a games cavern.
I have a games cavern.
Yeah, Andy has actually got a genuine cavern. It even smells like a cavern.
It really,
It does not smell like a cavern. It smells of coconut. It's got permanent coconut oil in there. It's lovely. Not coconut oil. Some kind of, those sort of stick things that evaporate oil.
Oh, yeah.
It's got one of them in. It's very nice.
Last time I went down there, it smelled of mould and cat pee.
That's because the cat room is next door, which is not ideal. It shouldn't smell of mould. There's no mould in there.
Well, not mould, but it smelled damp. This was quite some time ago, so you probably fixed some stuff, no doubt. Or it's the summer.
It shouldn't. It's never been damp. I think you probably smelt the cat room. That room has been dry as anything. It's always well ventilated. It's lovely in summer, actually, because it's been baking outside. You go in that room, because the sun doesn't hit it, there's no windows. It's so nice and cool. It's lying there for a few minutes. It's brilliant.
Nice. So yes, there is a sequel to the board game book that we have that's going to be coming out. There's a crowdfunding campaign launching on the 2nd of September. So keep your eyes peeled for it. If you don't already have a copy of the first one, go and get yourself a copy now.
Do you know how much it is?
It is 25 quid RRP.
That's all right.
I got the right thing. Pretty sure that's right.
Not bad, actually, because it's a pretty hefty book. It's a good sort of inch or so thick, and it's a proper sort of A4 size sort of book. So, yeah, that's decent value. Nicely made.
You can grab it off Amazon, I think. One of the best-selling gaming books on Amazon UK, as it happens. So, yes, the board game book. That's that. Next up, digital archaeology.
Archaeoludology is how I think I'm going. But that's how I'm going to pronounce it. I don't know how it is actually pronounced. So it's a kind of a new subfield of archaeology, which is the study of games. But they've made some fantastic new breakthroughs through recently using modern computing, where they've built a computer system that will help archaeoludologists. No, how?
Archaeoludology.
Archaeoludology,
will help the chaps that do, or the people rather, that do that, to work out what the rules are for all these ancient games. Because obviously they uncover these ancient games in ruins and bathhouses and whatnot around the world. But the rules quite often don't survive. So they're using this computer software to help them discern what the rules of the game are. And how it does it is actually really quite interesting. They break down all the components that they have and any rules that they are aware of through any of the type of literature. And they input each one of those as a separate piece of data, and then using various computing algorithms and then some artificial intelligence, the computer essentially plays itself to work out which of the rules that it thinks it could be are the most fun. And then it kind of submits that to kind of the human process to go, actually, this is the rule. And I think it sounds absolutely bonkers. But brilliant bonkers.
It does sound fascinating, and it sounds really interesting. Have you guys seen the Google AI stuff where they turn it on pictures of random stuff? So they train it on a particular data set, like a load of dogs, for example. Mm-hmm. So it was recognizing now what dogs look like in a picture, and then they train it on some random noise, and it finds random dog pictures in the noise. Seen that kind of stuff before?
No.
Random dog pictures in the noise.
Yeah. So, bizarrely, I saw it in a Matt Colville video. So, Matt Colville is the guy who does a lot of dungeon mastering advice on YouTube. And he did a whole thing about how Google have written this algorithm to, like, identify stuff. And he reckons that's what YouTube is. He reckons YouTube is this massive data collecting algorithm. And said, like, this Google software just said draw a picture of a cat, and it draws a near perfect picture of a cat from nothing.
Wow.
Right.
Terrifying.
They turned it on its head and they took pictures of stuff. They used the algorithm to identify where it thought there might be bits of these things that it recognised, and then got the algorithm to draw those things back in. So you see, like, the original picture, which could be like a load of random noise, or it could be like us staring at the clouds, for example.
Right.
It's like it's seeing those kinds of pictures in the sky.
Ooh.
I wonder if you could do something similar here. If you just took a load of random board game components and threw them together and then said, yes, here's the ancient game that we don't know the rules for. Make something fun and see what it comes up with.
For us.
Oh, you'd end up with Android.
Just a whole bag of random components thrown together.
Basically, yes. Right. We've got a bit of a detective game. We've got a slight worker placement, action selection, backstabby, moving around kind of thing. Yeah, that'll do.
A Rubik's Cube puzzle just thrown in there for whatever random reason.
Yeah, I think that could work. Though weirdly, I quite like Android.
It's an experience, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I mean, it took us 3.5 hours, and we got halfway through it, so it's quite long.
Ooh, not for me, thanks. Yeah, so that's the Ludii Project, and I'll ask Steve to put a link in the show notes, because you can actually go to the website, download the app, and try out a load of these games, a load of ancient games, with the rule sets that they think are the correct ones.
Ooh.
Or at least the ones that seemed the most fun.
Yes. Next up, I'm going to talk to you about Hasbro.
Ah, yes.
So Hasbro, in what I consider to be a little bit of a shock move, have spent $4 billion in a cash deal to acquire the Canadian TV, music and film company Entertainment One. Entertainment One have a lot of IPs to their name, including things like Peppa Pig, PJ Masks, and loads of others, including Death Row Records and The Walking Dead. So Hasbro now own all of those licenses.
That's quite a lot of stuff.
Which, if you want to make lots of themed versions of Monopoly, makes perfect sense.
Yes.
I'm just speculating out there.
Hasbro they kind of cater a lot to younger gamers. So now that they own all of these licenses, it does open up a whole world for them to kind of tap into now, essentially for nothing. But equally, they can start making television and movies and music for all the licenses for all the products they already have. So My Little Pony, Mr. Potato Head, and so on and so forth, they now own a company that can then turn those into different types of media, including Death Row rap music.
Are we going to start seeing, like, conglomerations of these things? So you've got, like, Death Row Peppa Pig and
the game, yeah. Maybe.
some mashups.
Walking Dead
Maybe.
Pig, that'd be good. Or Bacon, as it's called.
Oh, dear.
Well, did you see the other news from Hasbro that they're actually ditching plastic packaging?
Really?
Yes. They've been listening to the podcast, clearly.
Hurrah.
That was on last week's News Collider. Really interesting. Starting next year, they're going to ditch everything. There's going to be no cellophane, no plastic wrap, no elastic bands, nothing like that starting next year. And they've also got, which I didn't realise until I was writing that news article, that they've started a toy and game recycling service. So, as a parent, you obviously have, when you're a parent, you obviously have kids, and those kids obviously have a shit ton of toys. What you do with those toys once they've outgrown them is a bit of a problem. You can only sell so many of them, and then the rest of them either go to charity shops or in landfill. But Hasbro have now opened up a whole system where you can send them your toys. I assume you might get some vouchers or points or something like that, but so they can melt down your old Barbies and turn them into new Barbies.
Is this like when you get an old mobile phone and try to recycle it, and they offer you a competitive valuation, and you send in your really just finished Samsung S9, and they offer you a $5 for it?
I would hope it's better than that, but yeah, maybe.
I thought this was more for like games at their end of life. More terminal board games.
They're going to get inundated with Monopoly, aren't they?
Well, especially anyone that's bought the new Monopoly. Was it the Socialism edition?
Yes. I saw your article on that, and it sounds dreadful. I mean, regular Monopoly is obviously bad enough, but asking people to contribute their own money in a game pretty much designed, well, Monopoly, clues in the title, where to make money rather than give it away.
Yeah, it seems like it's a half-assed, not really very well thought out idea of what socialism is, and it's just taking the piss out of lots of different people, lots of different kind of cultures, and hasn't done very well. In fact, it was only exclusively available at Target, but if you go onto the Target website now, it has been removed. So I don't know what's happened. They might have pulled the game already.
Oh dear.
Well, at least now they've got their recycling service. It won't cost them that much to bring them all back in and stamp a new IP on the top. See what they've done there.
Maybe they're just testing it. Let's release a shit game and see what happens. Nice. It's a use case.
Tabletop Gaming Live is coming up quite soon, actually. In a month's time, 28th and 29th of September, it will be live down in London for more board game playing action. Steve, you've been to this one before, right?
Yeah, I went to last year's, so it was at the Ali Pali, or Alexandra Palace.
Ali Pali?
That's what everyone in London calls it, the Ali Pali.
Okay.
It's a thing.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's setting itself up to try and be the same kind of convention as UK Games Expo. So they're obviously pushing for exhibitors and a sale and marketing area. Last year it was a little bit quiet, both in terms of exhibitors and punters, but they'd obviously planned ahead because there was huge amounts of open gaming space, so plenty of room for you to go play games. And they had a whole host of seminars and talks on. I know Mr. Paul Grogan did a presentation on how to teach people how to play games. And I said, from what I understand, they've got a whole host of them going on next year. Now, if you're in London, it's absolutely brilliant. If you're outside of London like us, it can be a bit of a pain to get to because it took me almost as long to get from... I think I got in at Paddington Station because that's where my nearest train gets in. I think it took me as long to get from Paddington to Ali Pali as it did to take me to get from home to Paddington.
Oh,
so,
Jesus.
I've got to admit, I'm debating whether to go this year based on I can't seem to find the cheap train ticket, so it's going to cost me about 40 or 50 quid just to get there. And I'm like, is it worth it for the 2 days or not? I have a funny feeling my current financial situation will dictate whether I'm going or not, rather than whether I want to.
So no, then.
Yeah, that's a no.
Well, I was considering going, but I was thinking about driving down because you can actually get onto the Piccadilly line just off the M40.
Oh, can you? Okay.
Yeah, you can drive down the M40 and you've got, I think it's an NCP, it's an all-day parking for about £5. And then you jump onto the Piccadilly line, and then if I remember, the Alexandra Palace, the station you need is also on the Piccadilly line, so you don't even need to get off the tube, but you are on the tube for a long time.
Okay, that might be worth a look then.
You end up in Zone 6, so...
Isn't Zone 6 like Manchester or something?
As far as Londoners are concerned, yes.
Yeah.
Well, if you can make it there, it's 25 quid for 2 days per adult and a bit less for kids.
If I remember, is this the convention where you are not allowed to take any photos at all, Steve?
Yes, this was the one where all photography was banned,
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, God, yes.
Which I completely ignored and took loads of photographs.
And rightly so. What's the point of going to a convention when you're playing games and you can't report on it?
Yeah.
It was something weird. It wasn't. I don't think it was a thing of the Tabletop Gaming. I think it was a thing of the Alexandra Palace. There was something about they were worried about people taking photographs of people without their permission.
Right.
Oh,
Okay.
Or whether it was relating to something that was in previous conventions had held there. I wasn't sure, but yeah, everyone I saw was completely taking a mick out of it.
Getting photos next to the sign.
Well, yeah, I think there was a point when it was 4 of us were playing the game. So it was me, Matt from Creaking Shelves, Board Game Minimalist, and somebody else, and I can't remember who else. And we were basically taking photographs of each other taking photographs. Going, well, I've got evidence now. I've got evidence.
Yeah, nice.
Right then, let's talk about some games we've been playing, folks.
Okay.
So, Mr. Cage, you've been asking to talk about this for the last 4 episodes, I think, and I've kind of shut you down because I wanted to have played it first. And I can now say I've played one of the top games of 2017, which is Sagrada.
Well done.
That's us on the cutting edge, then.
That's right. We are on it.
Hey, I've done it quite well. So this week, not only have I played Sagrada, top game of 2017, I've also played for the very first time Terraforming Mars, top game of 2016. I'm up there, cutting edge.
Wow. Terraforming Mars was 2016. Jesus.
We're working in reverse order.
Yeah.
That could be a fun little project.
Nice.
So what's Sagrada then, John?
Sagrada, in essence, is a dice drafting, dice placement, sort of polyomino type game. Pattern matching kind of thing. Not polyomino.
Without the polyominoes.
Yeah. Pattern matching, I meant, not polyomino, sorry.
It's Azul with dice, isn't it, really?
That's a way to look at it, yes.
Which, funnily enough, Azul was criticised as being a rip-off.
Sagrada.
Oh, really?
They both come out at the same time.
No,
with Sagrada, it's Azul the Stained Glass was accused of being a rip-off of Sagrada. That was it.
Right.
Yeah, I can believe it.
Well, they both involve pretty transparent tokens, so I could see where you could get that analogy from. So basically you take it in turns. One person rolls a bunch of dice. You take it in turns to pick a dice from that, and it goes round in a circle until the last person's picked dice. Then they pick a second one. You go back around the circle the other way, taking dice again. And you're trying to fill up this little grid with the correct or the most point optimal combination of colours and numbers. And that changes from game to game. So you have a little player board. You get to pick one of 4, which will say certain space will be, it has to be this colour or it has to be this number. There are public objectives as well, which will be like everything in one row has to be a particular colour or a selection of colours. Everything in a column, for example, might be different numbers, that kind of thing. Sometimes you end up with peculiar combinations where every row has to be different colours in each space and different numbers in each space, which is painful on the old noggin. So you're constantly kind of trying to fulfill those. And in addition, you've got a secret objective, which will be something like, for all the green dice, add up all the faces and you get the sum total of those numbers. Whoever's got the highest sum at the end of the game wins. Simples, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So it sounds all right. And then a couple of turns in, you start thinking, why did I put that 6 there? Because if I put that 6 there, that means I can't put a 5 over on that point, and that one needs to be a purple one. Oh no! But don't worry, because there is a rescue. There are some little tool cards, and they're again randomly selected, so you don't always get the ones that you need, but they allow you to do things like shuffle dice around or re-roll dice that you're drafting, that kind of stuff. All in all, it plays in, I think the quickest game I played was in about 20 minutes, half an hour.
Really?
Oh, wow.
With-
I didn't realise you could do it that quickly.
Well, Laura and I smashed through 2 games in 15 minutes.
Yeah, you are playing with John, remember?
That is true.
Good point.
That's it. Analysis paralysis, John. I just like to think it through. We played this loads and loads up in Scotland. We played it a couple more times over my recent holiday in France. And we actually played the 5 and 6 player expansion as well, which adds some more cards, gives you a bit more variety to the selections of points that you can go for. 5 and 6 player, I have to say, does tend to get a little bit of downtime, although we were teaching people at the same time. It's like any of those sorts of games. The longer the round is, where people are picking dice, the longer it takes to get around it all.
It's one of those games, isn't it, where the length of the game is proportional to the number of players, isn't it? Because
definitely,
if you imagine, if everyone takes the same amount of decision time, then it's always going to be, decision time times number of players, because each person, is going to take the turns in row.
You can, to some extent, plan ahead. Although whenever I do that and make some notes about it, everyone thinks I'm cheating because I'm writing it down on my phone.
I consider it cheating, Mr. Cage. I put this forward to the court.
Indeed,
Go on,
I second that motion because the whole thing's supposed to be done in your noggin.
Yeah, but it is done in my noggin, and then I make a note about what I've come up with.
No.
So your memory's that bad, you can't remember what you thought of, 3 minutes earlier?
Yeah, basically.
Goldfish cage.
When you got 4 or 5 spaces, and you need to remember which one you've gone for which, and there's 3 people's turns which are taken a while in between, I think that's justified.
No.
No, I'm going to say you should be able to remember that.
Yeah.
Well,
3
then
spaces?
expect me to take 15 minutes on every turn.
Good lord.
But you did, John. You took notes and took 15 minutes.
Wow, that's pretty terrible, boy. Terrible.
The game itself, getting away from another John kicking, I rather enjoyed it.
You set them up, we knock them down.
Yeah, that's right. So personally, I like the kind of pattern matching bits and pieces, especially when you're then trying to keep an eye on what other people have picked as well, and making sure that you don't allow them too many nice things. It's that balance between how badly do I want to kick myself versus how much more entertaining is it going to be to make sure that they can't possibly put that blue one down. Nope.
I heard a new term for this recently.
Yes.
I heard the term of hate drafting.
Oh, yeah. I've been accused of that.
Where you basically play a game where you are, rather than trying to get the optimal move for yourself, you try and ruin someone else's move. Because this is a drafting game in all pretense, because the dice are in front of you. You have to choose which dice you want to take.
Yeah.
And in fact, the last time I played this, most people's turns were verbally saying, "How can I best screw John with my decision?"
You surprise me.
Which game are we talking about? Because this happens in most games, Steve. Everyone becomes a hate drafter when they play against me for some weird reason.
Just got one of those faces, mate.
Apparently so. Shall I just go?
No! You're the comic relief, remember?
I think Graham really summed this up when he was playing it with us, because he said it's a lot like Sudoku. It's like a Sudoku where you have little control, only a partial amount of control over what goes onto your little board. And I'm inclined to agree with him, but I have a couple of minor niggles with the game.
Go on.
Well, my major one really is that there is potentially a maximum score.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, given any particular board, yeah.
Because there is a scoring limitation based on these objectives, and if you manage to achieve both objectives and get your secret objective within a certain amount, your scores are going to be like pretty close most of the time. The other criticism I've got is that it's very, very similar to a lot of other games at the moment. I know lots of people love Sagrada, and quite frankly, I just heard out this week actually it's coming to digital versions coming out very soon. So it's going to come to Steam, iOS, and Android in the very near future. And I think I'm really quite looking forward to that. It's competing, as we've already mentioned, Azul. It's competing in that kind of space, and I personally don't think it's quite as good as Role Player.
Yeah, you described this to me, and I really like the sound of it. But I haven't played it yet, so I can't make that comparison.
No, I just think Role Player was just a little bit more... I think it's more in-depth. I think that's the problem. I think it's just another layer of complexity because there's extra things to consider. But that's not a bad thing because, as you've said, you've managed to play this game with a lot of people, and I think that's where Sagrada's charm really is. It's a bit more universal. Trying to explain some of the concepts in Role Player are going to be quite difficult to people who've never really played an RPG because... in that game, you're effectively using the dice to make a D&D character.
Yeah. I really want to play Role Player. It looks like my sort of thing.
It's really good.
It's really good. And it's the same kind of thing. It's the same kind of thing of, right, I'm going to have to take this dice this turn and then going, crap, I've now screwed myself over because I've got a dice in the wrong place. How do I best salvage this? And it's not... I mean, I think Sagrada is a little bit more... You have a few more options about where you can place things, so it's not quite as punishing, but you still get that whole... oh my God, I've screwed up. I'm not going to be able to do this now. Oh no.
But I was so close. Maybe I could rescue it with that. No, that doesn't help me. Now I've just made things worse, in fact. Where did I put that dice? Oh, crap.
Okay. No, I played a couple of games of Sagrada as well and thought it was all right. I mean, it's a bit light for my taste, especially because I've got things like Azul and stuff, but it was all right.
So there you go. A mixed bag of opinions on that one. but none of them particularly bad. Just none of them as deep as you'd maybe like.
Not a bad game, but yeah, it's just
not a bad game at all. No, and I think it's actually a game I'm thinking of getting for my collection because Amanda really liked it as well.
Mm-hmm.
I can see where it slots in quite easily because I don't think she'll be wanting to play role play as much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, definite has a space.
I think if someone put Azul and Sagrada on the table, I'd probably rather play Sagrada.
Really.
Might just be because it's new.
I would go with Azul. I think there's just a little bit more to Azul, just a little bit.
I haven't played either game, and I'd really struggle to pick between them. Just because I find the appeal of them is minimal, for both games. I'm really not interested in playing either one. I don't know why. I can't. I think part of that is kind of being anti-cool. It's just both games because both games are so pretty. Really, they were just all over Instagram, all over Twitter. They were real darlings of those social media, and I got sick to the back teeth of seeing them. And for me, I'm just sick of looking at it. And they're light games. I've got enough light games. I've got enough of a choice of my own light games that I know I like. I want something a little bit more. But I don't know. If you force me to choose, I really would struggle between the two.
What you need to do really is play Too Many Bones, Rory. That's like this, but infinitely more complicated.
On a different note, I really don't want to play Too Many Bones because I've played 2 games by Chip Theory Games and I'm really not interested in playing another.
Oh, you see, the problem is you haven't played the good one.
Yes, I'm going to agree with Andy here. You've played the wrong. You had a 1 in 3 chance, and well, in fact, 2 in 3 chance because you played 2 games, and you blew it because you played the 2 crap games rather than the one absolutely belting game.
Yeah, and you know what? More fool them, because if they'd had hooked me with it, if they'd had just made good games to start with, then I might be tempted to play and buy it. But no, they've pissed me off with 2 mediocre / shite games, and I'm not interested. I'm really not. If I come round your house, Andy, and you say, let's play Too Many Bones, I'm like, do you mind if I just watch a movie?
I would mind, but no, you crack on. I will happily play Too Many Bones again. Because
I'll take an hour-long drive to watch a movie at your place while you play Too Many Bones.
Steve and I will be throwing cubes everywhere. It'd be brilliant.
I can't help feeling that you're cutting off your nose to spite your face there, Rory.
I'm okay with that. Look, I cannot express to you in words, either too many or too few, how poor
Bones.
Yeah, how poor Triplock is.
I get the feeling. I mean, having played Cloudspire at Expo, I can see where you're coming from, because I thought that was a huge turd as well.
Andy, you can't. Triplock
really
is so bad.
Oh God, really? Oh dear. Wow. Oh well. Well, as Steve says, you have chosen poorly. But I genuinely think you will enjoy Too Many Bones, as will John, because it is RPG stuff. I think once you get it, you'll be like, this is actually pretty good, because that's what happened to Steve.
Yes, there was a point Andy looked at me and went, "You're bloody loving this, aren't you?" And I went, yeah, I am.
I've never made any secret of the fact that I'm sure I'm going to like that game. It's just finding an opportunity to play it.
We might have to wait for, the wound, the Triplock wound to heal and scar over.
Wait for the poison to bleed out.
Yeah, we could go full A-team on you and sort of feed you some drugged milk.
It's just... you got me thinking now. If we were the A-team, who would each of us be? But that's a completely different waffle stick.
That's a good question.
Let's come back to that, shall we?
I think Steve would have to be Hannibal, because he's kind of the leader.
God.
Here we go. You can't open a question like that and just expect to leave it hanging. That's not fair. That's like the bluest of blue balls.
I don't like the way this is going.
No, right, move.
Right.
So that was Sagrada, believe it or not.
From Floodgate Games.
So, from Stained Glass, kind of.
I was going to say, speaking of drugging people...
Indeed! There you go. That's the segue I was looking for. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Hannibal.
He's got the jazz. We, I think, have all now played Quacks of Quedlinburg.
Nope.
No! Oh, good grief. The Quacks of Quedlinburg is not, in fact, about a lovable gaggle of ducks. as Alora thought it was when she first saw the title. Oh, it's about ducks! No, it's about a bunch of charlatans peddling snake oil and various other ailment cures in the fictional, I think, town of Quedlinburg. And your job, basically, is one of these peddlers is to make up this number of potions by throwing any old shite you can find into a bowl, heating it up, and seeing what happens. And so basically the idea is it's a push-your-luck game. So your little bag of tokens that do various bits and bobs, and you pull them out one at a time, and they will advance you essentially along a track, a number of spaces, depending on what you pull out. And there are a number of these things that are bad. And once you hit the limit, you stop, and that you blow up your pot. At which point you get a choice between the two things at the end. If you manage to get to a point where you choose to stop and you haven't blown up your pot, you get both money, which you can use to then buy more tokens to sort of pad out your bag, so you're less likely to pull out these little bombs, and you also get points. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So there are a number of sets of tokens, and each of these tokens does a different thing, and there are 4 sets of books, basically, to define what these tokens do. So there's tons in the game, lots and lots of different replayability. So each of these ones, so say, for example, you can pull out a mandrake root, and that might allow you to remove one of the cherry bombs, which makes your pot explode, that you've previously pulled out. Or in another set of books, it might double the value of the next token that you pull out. So if you pull out a bunch of 4s in a row, you can really scoot around this track quite quickly. And then there's another couple of sets of books. There's also an alternative game mode on the back, but they're all much of a muchness. Ultimately, you're pulling tokens out of a bag, putting them on a track, and pushing your luck to see how far you can get round. And that's it.
So whoever gets to the end first wins, is that right?
Not quite, no. It's most points win. So the further around you get around the track each round, the more points you'll score each round.
Right.
So it'll be like each sort of blob you end up on has 2 numbers. There's a victory point, and there's basically cash that you then use to spend that round. And you add up all the points at the end of each round. There's 9 rounds in the game, and at the end of the game, the most points wins. But there is a slight rubber banding technique. So the person who's furthest ahead will get no advantage, and the people behind you, depending on how far behind, there's a number of rat tails basically on the score chart. So you count the number of rat tails between you and the person in front, and that will give you a number of spots of temporary advantage. So it pushes you further around the track temporarily to where you changes your start position. And so
I was just about to ask if the people in the front get more cash each time, how they balance that, so they don't just run off with it.
Yeah, exactly. It does counterbalance this sort of runaway technique quite nicely, actually. So it's all fairly tight all the way through the game. There's usually only a few points between each person in the game. Until you get to the end of the game when someone just spanks it, gets 35 points and buggers off. But other than that, it's pretty good.
Right, it should be. It won an award, didn't it? It won the Kennerspiel des Jahres, so it's the Connoisseur Game of the Year Award 2018.
I would highly recommend this for you, John, because I think this would go down well with your normal gaming circle.
Agreed.
Because it is an absolute doddle to teach. It's quite literally pull things from the bag. If you pull more than 7 points worth of cherry bombs, you're buggered.
It doesn't sound that interesting. Like, it doesn't sound that deep.
No, it is. Well, it's not deep. It is. It's as you said. We're talking about a game which is in the same kind of level as your Sagrada Results. It's that kind of market area. It's an easy to teach game. It is. Yeah, we've got it down to like, okay, you're just pulling things out of a bag, but it's like a deck builder. So it's a game in which you are buying things with the cash you've made to put into your bag. So your decision making is not only when to stop drawing stuff, but it's also decision making as to what to put into the bag. There's also a couple of more advanced things we haven't considered. You can also grab rubies. So there's certain spots on this cauldron, because what you're actually laying the tokens on is a cauldron. And if you can stop before a space which has got a ruby, you pick up a ruby, and you can spend those rubies to do extra things like move your starting token so you get further around the pot, or you can use it as like an emergency bailout. So you've got this potion that you can do emergency bail and put the last token you just drawn back in the bag, shuffle them all up and draw again. So At its fundamental level, all you're doing is drawing tokens out of the bag, but there's all these extra things which are adding this complexity to it.
Gotcha.
And basically making a more deeper game. And as Andy says, what the tokens do change every game because you've got an assortment of things to draw on. So it's not like every game, as you said, the Mandrake Roots or the Green Bugs are going to do the same thing. They will do different things in every game you play with different combinations of things. So it's got that whole Dominion deck building thing of having a different setup every time, so you need to think and strategize differently.
Yeah, so you're kind of live stacking your deck. It's quite good.
And I agree, that sounds more appealing now.
That does sound. It sounds better when Steve says it.
Fine.
And it is pretty cool when you're doing the thing of like, I think you've got like the cherry bombs, which are things that pop. I've got values like 3, 2, 2s, and several 1s. So you're like, if you're drawing cherry bombs and you know that 3 is still in the bag, and you're like, well, I've got like 20 tokens in the bag, but only one of them is going to cause me to pop at this point. I'll be fine.
There's a 95% chance you will definitely draw that token.
Steve will, definitely, yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's really good. I mean, in many ways, it's actually quite good to get the 3 out first because it gives you know where you stand then.
Oh, yeah. Gives you a boost as well. I also find that the way it does the last round is really clever because what it does is you're playing this simultaneously for most of the game. You're drawing them and just going, and you're just hearing other people go, oh, yeah, oh, crap.
Yes.
Is it like me drawing cards in Ethnos?
Yes.
Yeah, it's exactly
like
that.
That, yes.
And it's going to be... shit.
But what the game does at the very final round, you start drawing them one after each other, so you're watching everyone else and trying to see who's going to pop. Because, of course, if they pop, they're not going to score any more points. But it's really important so it happens. I have a slight issue with it, as I think that the game's strategy dictates itself after a certain point. Because I noticed, because what you do is if you do, as Andy said, there's these spots you occupy have got a score and a value which you can use to spend on more ingredients. And there comes a point in the game where once you've popped, you've got to choose which one if you explode, you've got to choose which one of these numbers you use, cash to buy more stuff or victory points. And towards mid-game, and this is my opinion based on what I've played so far, you've got to go for the victory points.
I'd agree with that.
Because we were finding in both games we played, Amanda was starting to get that lead because she was always getting the victory points and not burst and not exploding. And there was a point when she was getting like 10 victory points every round. It's like, whoa, hang on. Yeah. If I do not get my victory points this round to try and get better ingredients, I'm 10 behind. And I've got to suddenly start doing better and better than each round.
Okay.
But that's my only criticism. The rest of it is it's just fun. And again, it's one of those games that takes like 45 minutes to play.
If that. Yeah, it's pretty quick once you're used to it.
So is that not just getting the victory points? Surely that's just you want to start building your engine to get the more victory points and so on and so on. Like that doesn't sound like it should necessarily be a criticism. Like that sounds like it's probably the core.
It's not a criticism. It's just like your hand is almost forced because once you get to a point where you've got a shitload of tokens in your bag, you don't really need any more because you know what your stats are and you're basically just pulling out like level 4 tickets. So you're just basically just doing 4 spots around this track. Trying to get as far as you can because I mean, I've got to a point now in a few games where I've got to round 6. I don't really need any more in my bag, so I don't need to spend the money. I mean, I do just get more points, so I get fewer cherry bombs. But you just need the points because that's ultimately what you need to win.
Yeah, it was just I thought the way the game was designed forced your hand a little bit on the strategy and took a bit of that agency away from you. Took a bit of that player decision in that to play even remotely optimally. Things has already been decided for you.
In the sense that if you don't follow that route, you're going to lose. You could still choose to lose, but you'd be an idiot.
Well, exactly, and that's the thing. I learned this on the second game when I chose to get more cash because I kept thinking, I'm not drawing what I want, so I'll use the cash to get more stuff in. And it's like, hang on, now I'm 12 points behind the lead. Now, on the plus side, that gave me shitloads of rat tails, which meant that I was getting more points in the next round. But looking at the leaderboard, the victory point track, it was like, I'm not catching up here. I need to do, I need 2 or 3 seriously good rounds in order to catch up.
Alternatively, Steve, don't push your luck quite so hard.
So you're saying Steve's to blame?
Pop, bang.
Yes, I think Steve needs to improve his strategy somewhat. My criticism of the game is that there is absolutely zero player interaction. So whilst it is very, very... I mean, it's not even side levels of multiplayer solitaire. It is literally multiplayer solitaire. You cannot affect your opposition at all.
But does it feel like a game that you should be interacting with? Because I think Andy, you and I have had this conversation before about multiplayer solitaire games, and actually sometimes that's fine. Does it feel like this game should have an element of interaction?
I mean, it works perfectly well. Don't get me wrong, I really do enjoy it. It's a great little game. But I don't know, I think being able to, say, maybe limit the number of tokens that people could buy so that if you buy one, your opponent couldn't buy it, for example, that might help.
I'm going to say there's a little bit of aspect to it where you do have to be watching what other people are doing, though, because there comes a point in the game where there comes a point when you need to have a look at how far other people have got, because, of course, you want to be beating them. You want to be getting more cash to spend and more points. So there's a point where you might go, well, I'm not going to draw any more tokens out my bag now because I'm in the lead and I'm getting more points than everyone else. But there'll be a point in the game where you're thinking, well, they're already at, they're going to get 10 points this round.
Yeah.
I'm on 9. Oh, if I get 11, I can start edging ahead of them. So
and then pull your 3 cherry bombs out. Bollocks!
Yeah, and that is exactly what happened to me.
Yeah, exactly. And that is the fun bit, to be fair. That is where you really make the difficult decision, which is what makes it interesting and fun.
Yeah.
So, I suppose to answer your question, Rory, no, it doesn't need it. And it doesn't feel like it's lacking that much. I don't know, maybe it just seems you are literally on your own.
Yeah.
I'd emphasise it's multiplayer solitaire, but it's multiplayer.
Okay.
Yes.
Because you are in direct competition. Although you're not interacting with other people, you are in direct competition with other people. So your decisions will be affected by what other people are doing.
And it's quite clear to see what is going on other players in terms of their score and how they're building it and what you can do to...
Yeah.
It's all open information.
Yeah.
It's all open.
Okay.
Yeah.
As besides, everyone will suddenly just go, oh, shit. Do you know exactly what's going on?
See,
That's true.
The way you were describing it, it did sound like there was almost a level of passive player interaction in that, although I can't do anything to you to affect you, Andy, on my off turn, it's actually quite interesting just to watch you play your turn. You drawing out the bag is quite interesting and potentially exciting for me to watch that. So although I'm not interacting with you, I'm spectating of what you're doing and I'm deriving an enjoyment from that. Would you say that's a level to it, or am I just overthinking it?
You don't really have an off turn because everyone draws simultaneously. So unless you pop your pot really quickly, you'll be drawing the same time as I am. Yeah, so it's literally simultaneous. So when we say multiplayer solitaire, everyone's doing the same thing, unless you're in the very last round and everyone has to do, so they're going to do a simultaneous draw, just so nobody gets an advantage. So you can't do exactly what Steve's just said, is like keep an eye on everyone else. You kind of get to a point where you think, I'm getting squeaky bum time, and then everyone goes, right, I've got to squeaky bum, right, and then everyone draws out, or not, as the case may be, whether they want another token. So that's actually quite a difficult decision to make, because everyone's trying to make the same decision at the same time with no further information, and that's actually quite good. That's quite a nice little touch at the end of the game.
All right.
But that only happens in the last round. So yeah, I mean, you can get an idea of how pushy some players are, I suppose, Rory, by watching what they're doing. You can see. I mean, it's not a complicated game. So you can draw a token out of a bag and watch what everyone else is doing at the same time. It's not hard. That's literally all you're doing. There's no real strategizing at that point. So yes, you can keep, oh right, Steve's just taking the piss, fine, he's going to pop, we'll just ignore him, fine. Amanda's getting a bit conservative there, so she's probably one to watch, so she's probably going to score both money and points this round. So maybe you want to watch that person, but ultimately there's nothing you can do about it. Even if you watch them, you can't change it.
All right.
But it's fun, and that's the ultimate thing. And
the sort of game like a fun game.
Yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. I really do, because you like. I know you go for the sort of slightly lighter, more fun games, and I definitely think this is
on
right
occasion,
up your street.
Andy. On occasion.
On occasion,
you do tar us both with that brush. Like that's our only kind of game.
Well, that's because Rory has flat out stated that's the kind of game he goes for.
That's the type of game I'm able to play most frequently.
Yeah, exactly. Yes,
and that's
true.
The critical point for both of us, I think, actually.
Well, I keep trying to get you to play Twilight Imperium, but you keep saying no.
Well, when are we going to do it?
Yeah, if I can bring the kids along, then I'm all over that.
That's a defeatist attitude, Mr. Cage.
Exactly, it is. Yeah, chop chop.
Let's put something in the calendar then. How are you guys fixed for November 2020?
See, there's the thing. But I like your style.
That was Quacks of Quedlinburg. I think me and Andy agree. We really like it. It's a really fun. It's fun game. It actually, fun is a really good way of describing it. I know it's a really shit adjective when we're describing board games, but it is a lot of fun to play. That game is.
I'm reasonably certain I will enjoy it.
And it's only 30 quid, so it's quite cheap, and you get quite a reasonable amount in the box. It doesn't feel like you've been stiffed. So 30 quid is definitely sort of punt territory and very affordable, so it's not particularly expensive.
The last game I wanted to mention is a game that's coming to Kickstarter probably about 2 days after this podcast launches. So I think it's going to Kickstarter September 3rd. And this is a game called Solar Storm. Now, what this is a pandemic-esque or pandemic-style cooperative game. You are on a spaceship which is in the gravity well of a star, and so everything's getting a bit toasty.
Ooh.
And you're dangerously getting close to this star, and very soon will be pulled into it and basically disintegrated. So what you need to do is get the old jump leads out and get the engine going again.
It's basically Event Horizon, isn't it?
Hang on, if you've got jump leads,
yeah.
does that mean you've got a second ship that you can jump the first one from? In which case, why not just use the second ship?
No, what you're doing is you're trying to divert power from the 8 other systems within the ship. Basically diverting all non-essential power systems to the engine so you can kickstart the engine and get the hell out of Dodge.
Right.
Problem is, you're damn close to this fiery inferno of death, giver of life and destroyer of life at the same time, and so what's happening is the ship is slowly being damaged by the heat, and the rate at which it is getting damaged is increasing slowly over the course of the game.
Okay.
So the way in which it's played is quite simple. You've got 3 actions. You've got a little 3x3 grid of ship's locations, which the ship's engines are always in the middle, and you've got these 8 locations around it. Each location has 3 damage spots. And then there is a requirement of what you need to do the jump start. And what you've got is a series of cards which have got different spares on them. So it's nanobots, circuits, energy, and I think there's something else. But they're all colour coded. So you're looking at these coloured cards. And what you need to do is make sure a room you're in is fully repaired, which means that you might have to discard one of these cards to repair an item and put a cube back covering that icon. But you'll have to discard 3 cards in the combination that's written on that location in order to divert power. Once you've diverted power from 8 rooms, you head to the engine, hit the ignition, and you're out safe.
Nice.
Simple.
As you're doing this, though, you are drawing cards which will damage another location on the ship. And the clever thing is the deck is split into 3 sections. So during the first section of the game, only 1 room is damaged. In the second part of the game, 2 rooms are damaged. And in the third part of the game, 3 rooms are damaged. And if for any reason you get to the bottom of the deck, there's basically a card which burns through your supply deck. So the game either ends when you've run out of cards from the supply, which is these spare components, or when a room is damaged to the point where it's got no damage and takes another point of damage. So each room can basically, if every room is fully repaired, it can take 3 points of damage. If it takes 3 and then takes a 4th, game over.
Ooh,
okay.
There's not much margin for error then.
No. This game is quite hard.
I was going to say, how often have you actually succeeded at this, Steve?
I have only played this game on the easy difficulty, and what it does to adjust difficulty, it gives you some wild card technologies. So these like omni tools, which can be used for any and represent any card. I've played it with solo, which was effectively 2-player, double hand in it, because the solo rules haven't been written yet. 2-player and 4-player, and I have died a fiery death every single time at roughly the same point in the game, which is halfway through the 3rd section of cards.
I think I know why.
He pulled the epidemic card.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it, John.
Yeah.
His reputation in our game of Pandemic is not setting up well for this one. Epidemic Tudor, they call him.
when I say, we'll be all right as long as the crew quarters don't take any more damage, you can guarantee your life that next card will be the crew quarters card.
We were playing Battlestar actually last Friday with Luke, and the Cylons had done quite well. We got to a point where they were obviously they'd almost won. And we thought, right, we've got a plan, we can do this, we can lock him in a brig, and we should be able to basically get the hell out of Dodge, because it was right at the end of the game. We needed one last jump, and then the humans would win. And we thought, right, as long as we can get to put them in the brig space on Battlestar, on Galactica, we'll be okay. So the Cylon, just before my go, right, I'm going to shoot the ship with the base star. Guess which location they hit?
Oops.
So that was our human chips well and truly pissed in. God damn it. We're like, we're basically screwed.
Well, it's one of the reasons why it makes this game quite tense, actually, because you are going, I'll be fine as long as the mess hall doesn't get hit. I'll be fine. Oh my God, I'm dead. And it can be quite tricky. So it's like Pandemic in that you can swap cards if you're in certain locations, and it's played open hands, so you can see what everyone's got. So there's a lot of does mean it can lead to the whole kind of quarterbacking, which I don't quite understand because I'm not an American football person, where you kind of go, well, if I go here and you go over here and then you spend those cards, we can divert power in another area, which means it's a little bit easier to coordinate, but does mean that someone can just basically take control and tell everyone what they need to be doing. Yeah. It's really actually a nice little game. It is a nice little game. It's a little small box. It's effectively just 2 decks of cards and a couple of tokens. So,
oh, really? I was expecting a board and all sorts with this for some reason. I think that was just my expectation of it.
The main game is just 9 cards, and 9 normal-sized cards laid out in this 3x3 grid.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, I've got the prototype version, so I've got little, cheapy pawn tokens and some basic cubes. There is a random element to it, which is a bit weird. Like, one of the actions you can take is scavenge, which is to try and get extra resources. And you roll the dice to see if you've got the resources or not.
Oh.
Which feels a bit annoying when the rest of the game is quite randomless to all of a sudden have, well, if I roll 3 or more, we can grab that item. I've rolled 2. Well, that's just wasted an action then, isn't it? I do wonder if it's supposed to be to put a bit of a gamble and push. I said we push your luck earlier, where it's a push your luck element. I don't know. The other element which is quite nice is you can save an action, which I've never seen before.
Oh, okay. That's
so
nice.
You've got 3 actions around. You can save an action, which you basically take a +1 action token, so you can use it in a future round.
You clearly.
Nice.
Did you ever find yourself doing that?
I did when I realised I couldn't do anything. There was a point when I needed to repair places, but the places to repair were the other side of the ship, so I couldn't get there because you can only move orthogonally. So if you think 3x3 grid, if you're in the wrong bottom corner, it's going to take you 2 turns to get to the other corner. So it's like, right, I'll move 2 to get to the middle and take the save an action, which is especially more useful to more players because things could have changed quite drastically by the time it gets round to you.
That sounds like a similar mechanic they have in Kanban, actually, is saving actions for future turns.
Yeah,
that's the first time I'd seen it, so...
I think I've only encountered it once before in Mind Out. But yeah, I really liked it. I'd like to see it more often.
I've heard of that.
It's a Brain Crack Games one. It's about mining gems. Little boxed,
okay.
Nice little game. That I'm shite at. I got really angry at for a proper sulk about after losing, and I've never played it since.
Excellent. Was it like Trip Lock as well?
No, I didn't throw a sulk. I threw it at the wall. But
so it sounds like Solar Storm's pretty good then, even though it's a prototype, Steve.
It's a nice little game, but it plays really well. It's a nice, tense little co-op, but there's a massive sense of game déjà vu.
Oh, right, okay.
So game déjà vu is something we coined on this podcast a while back, which is the feeling that you've played this game before. And although what it does really well, and it's really straightforward. I mean, the rules are like really there's next to nothing to it rules wise. It just feels like this game is a combination of 1 or 2 other games just slightly mashed together. It really, really, really reminded me of the games that Board and Dice were bringing out about 12 months ago, 18 months ago maybe. Pocket Mars and Multi-Universum, which are games which you're again, collecting sets of cards to do things. So multi-university, you're collecting these sets of cards to close the gates, and it felt similar to that, the way you were collecting these cards to divert power. And you can't escape the fact that it's just screaming pandemic at you. You know, instead of city cards, you've got these repair cards. You know, instead of epidemic cards and cities getting infected coming out, you've got damage to the systems.
Do you ever worry that this is just going to become like something that happens more and more? Like, if you look at the size of your board game collection, how many games you played, the chances are mechanics and similar, you're going to find similarities between those board games as time goes on. I
would say most definitely. And I think the state that the board game industry is at the moment as well, everyone's going to see that more often as well. I think there's something stupid like, did I read this week there's like 5,000 games released every year?
Something like that, yeah.
And it's, you know, some of these are going to be the same as other games, and we've all got a finite amount of space to store them, and we've got a finite amount of time to play them.
And a finite amount of money to buy them with.
Well, look at it the other way round. You know, you've got 5,000 games that are coming out, but let's be honest, most of them are probably shit. So it's fine. Problem goes away.
But how would you know? All right, yes. You would listen to this amazing podcast.
Exactly.
Where we've played 5,000 games.
where we play 3 games a month.
We're making a really small dent. Fine.
We've picked the cream, though. Right?
Yeah, it is a weird one because the Solar Storm is a good game, but it's just, for me, I've played it now, I think 3 times. I was tempted to see if I could play it with you guys again before we launched the podcast, but with it kickstarted, the time limit involved, I'm not sure I'm going to play it again because it ticks boxes that a lot of other games in my collection already tick.
So just for our reference, what would you play over this? If someone said, let's play Solar Storm, you'd say, let's play
Pandemic.
Okay.
I mean, the problem is it's not doing, apart from the form factor of it being this small box game, I'm not seeing that it's doing anything better than Pandemic, which is kind of, you know, I mean, we're talking about Pandemic, it's the kind of leader in this field, as it were. You know, it's set the standard for cooperative games, and I think that's my issue with it, is Solar Storm isn't doing anything which kind of goes, right, we've taken Pandemic, here's the next stage. In fact, you could say that what it's done is actually it waters down and makes it a little bit more straightforward and quicker to play. But on that basis, Pandemic is not an overly complicated game to begin with.
Lord, no.
So
is it you're saying it's not like tonally different enough for you then for that? There's it doesn't give you a new flavour. It's not like Pandemic with a new flavour like the Rome one or the Cthulhu one, which are, you know, different enough. This just, it has the same like core mechanics, but just doesn't have enough zest.
I think we're jumping on the Pandemic a little bit too much because it feels like it's the game déjà vu in which it feels like a game you've played before without being a direct rip-off. So, you know, saying that it's an exact copy of Pandemic would be wrong. What I'm saying is it's got that same, it evokes the same emotional response from playing, if that makes sense. But as I said, in this slightly smaller form factor. And I think this is, to me, actually this has been running through my brain all week. This is an issue, I think, with board games that other medium might not have. Like, I was thinking, you know, you play video games and you play, like, I don't know, Zelda, and another video game comes along and everyone says, oh, it's like Zelda. And you don't just go, well, I'm not going to play it because I've already played Zelda. You usually go, well, I'm going to play that because I like Zelda.
Yeah, it's a good point.
And it may just be me going, well, I don't fancy playing another cooperative game like this too much. But other people, someone else out there might go, well, yes, this is a great tense cooperative game. To me, it feels, you know, I love this genre. There's more in it.
I can give an example of that, actually. You mentioned Zelda. There's a game on the PC. It came out on Steam a couple of years ago now called Undertale. You may or may not have heard of it. And it has that sort of 8-bit look to it. Like it's a sort of side-scrolly, over-the-top, like Zelda is. And it is basically the same sort of idea. You've got a screen, you've got characters, you interact with speech bubbles and all this sort of stuff. And it's brilliant! So, yes, definitely go and, I won't say necessarily go and buy Undertale, but I know exactly what you mean, Steve. You know, you've got something you're familiar with, and it's just twisted it slightly. And you think, okay, it's different enough that, yes, it feels like it, but do you know what? Let's give it a go. Especially with the small form factor, you could probably stick it in your pocket, play it in the train, or go to friends.
Oh, yeah, you can play this on a train easily, yeah.
See, I think that might make a great contender for a lunchtime, a lunch break game. Because getting a game of Pandemic in during a lunch break, I've tried it, quite tricky. You got 1 hour to eat, set up, play, and tear it down. But yeah, Solar-Storm, I'd actually be quite interested to give that a go. From
me too.
What you've said about it tonight, I'd quite happily play that.
Yeah, me too.
And if you're as bad at this game as I am, you'll definitely finish it in less than an hour.
10 minutes then.
Challenge accepted.
You'll have plenty of time to luxuriously eat your apple at the end of your meal without having to worry about it.
All right. If I do beat this game, I am going to video myself just luxuriously eating an apple and send it to you, Steve.
You're just going to set the time limit, like this is going to be a 5-minute video, no matter how long. And the last 2 minutes are just you.
Yeah, I'm gonna beat this game. Please send me the game, Steve, so I can beat it, just so I can make that video.
Brilliant.
But John, I interrupted you.
So you're going to say, John?
No, it's gone now.
Sorry.
See, this is why I normally have to write these things down. It's come back to me. Game difficulty. Do they need to make an adjustment then for game difficulty if on the easy setting you're finding that you regularly get beaten by it? Because easy should genuinely be, well, easy.
Right, I will give this game the kind of caveat / excuse that I give all Kickstarter games. These games generally aren't 100% finished. Like I said, there's supposed to be solo rules which aren't in the rule book yet. They're coming soon, so there may be some tweaking involved. It may just be that I'm terrible at this kind of game.
It's most likely.
I was going to suggest that you're not necessarily taking into account that Steve might be shit.
We are.
True. I'm just wondering if that's feedback we can give to them that from our experience, by our, I mean Steve's experience, maybe they need like an easy board.
They need a Steve equivalent for Solar-Storm, as they need a Rory equivalent for Venice. Is that what you're saying?
Stuff you lose.
Exactly what
Shut
I'm
up.
saying. Yeah, nail on the head.
Is that basically suggesting that John and I are the most competent gamers of this group?
That doesn't sound likely.
I do win quite a lot of games, despite the kicking that you guys give me.
He does, actually, annoyingly.
Well, that's because you spend twice as much time thinking about your move.
Well, then who's doing it right?
I want to play with the chess clock and see, prove that you've spent 3 hours contemplating your turn when the rest of us spent 15 minutes.
Exactly.
So that was Solar-Storm from Dranda Games. It's due on Kickstarter 3rd of September, so it should be out within a day or two of this podcast being available to listen. So go have a look at that now, see if it tickles your fancy.
Do we have any idea of the pledge levels for that?
I have no idea. Not a faintest clue. I think it's time to draw this ramshackle nonsense to a close.
Yes.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening. We have been Polyhedron Collider. If you enjoyed this show, please give us a review on iTunes or your podcast platform of choice. If you'd like to talk to us, we are available on Twitter. We are collectively at PolyhedronC, but I'm the person behind the screen on that one. But I do have a personal account of at Wahoffamadenga, which I've noticed over the last few weeks I've had a lot more followers, so I might actually have to start using.
Is that because you spelt it properly in the last podcast?
Do you know what? Maybe that's it.
People actually know how to find you now, rather than just going, how the f*** did you spell that? Nonsense, I can't be arsed spelling that. We'll just go to Sonic H, it's easier.
With a 0.
With a 0, that's me.
And I'm John, that's JON_Cage.
And I'm Rory J. Summers.
That's Summers, SOMERS.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Sean.
There we go. You see, got all the clarifications in now.
Very diligent.
We are also at Facebook and also on the Board Game Geek Guild 2726.
If you fancy yourself some D&D action and indeed a bit of podcast action on YouTube, you can find us on youtube.com/user/Polyhedron Collider. And I am working through the backlog of Twitch streamed D&D episodes. So if you want to see them live, you can find us on twitch.tv/Polyhedron Collider most Thursdays. if not every Thursday.
And if you want more news, more Kickstarter highlights, and just reviews, but written down instead of spoken at you, you can find those all over on polyhedroncollider.com.
But for now, folks, we'll catch you later, and happy gaming. Bye-bye.
Tell you later.
Catch you later.
Bye-bye.